Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Agent Box, coming to you live from the UK every Thursday at 11 o'clock. My name is Sham Ghani.
And this is Abir, the co-star, superstar, super agent.
Easy. All right, then, Abir, how you doing, man? You okay? What you been up to?
Right, how are you? All good?
I'm good, good, all good. How about you?
And not too bad. We had a few days of summer, and now it's pouring down here, so...
No, I know, yeah. For those of you that are joining us from overseas, it's been absolutely horrendous over the last 24 hours here in the UK. We've got too much rain, not enough sun, just really not good. Anyway, guys, well, listen, look, welcome back to another episode. Got a topic that we want to talk about today that's a little bit subtle, a little bit complicated. I'd want to say, you know what I mean? A little bit. Say again?
That's our forte, isn't it? We talk about complicated stuff.
Yeah, it is something that actually, my personal opinion, right, is that maybe we as agents don't take too seriously the detail, but our partner universities are clearly going to be interested in that detail. So what's the topic? The topic is ethical recruitment, right? And there's a context, ethical considerations in student recruitment. And there's a context for this. That recently in the national press here in the UK, certainly those of you that have been watching government updates, you know we had the MAC review last week that was released. Within the MAC review, it was also mentioned, I think Abir and I touched on it a little bit, that agents can be seen as people that are mis-selling, that are misrepresenting, and that raises the whole question of, ethical recruitment. And to be fair, ethical recruitment is very subjective. What I consider to be ethical might be different from Abir or different from somebody different from yourself, but it is something that our universities are interested in. How do we know that they're interested in this? Because for those of you that are agents that are watching this, hopefully I'm hoping that you all know what the agent quality framework is. It's something that the British Council in collaboration with a whole load of other stakeholders, including all sort of British universities, have designed a set of standards, if you like, that apply to universities when they're working with agents. Yeah. And this is something that I mentioned last week as well, that it is a development of something called the London Statement, which came out years and years ago. Again, it was a basic form of a set of standards or codes that universities are expected to get their agents to follow. So these codes, these standards affect us as agents, but the universities are responsible for ensuring that we follow those standards. Now, if you don't know what they are, my recommendation is that you go and have a look real quick, because what the MAC review last week was suggesting is that there's going to be some sort of regulation, or they're certainly recommending to the UK government to introduce some kind of registration regulation for agents. If that happens, then these voluntary codes of ethics or codes of practice, I believe, my personal opinion, is that they will become much more serious and much more mandatory.
I feel the same as well.
What do you think, Abir?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel the same as well. To be honest, that should be our practice in the first place anyway. So I think if we are doing the right things, that's great. But if we are not, then it's time right now to get on with it. And that's why it's even more relevant and important right now to talk about those practices.
I mean, to be fair, in the last 2 or 3 days, I've done a very deep dive into the agent quality framework, because I'm mapping that against a product that I'm working on, a project that I'm working on at the moment. And to be honest with you, there's a lot of things there that when I think about agents that I've worked with, when I think about colleagues that I work with at the moment, I wonder how many of them are actually, even if they've read it, even if they know what these are, how seriously they're taking it. Well, anyway, to bring some flavor to the discussion, today we've got a guest that we've invited along, somebody that I've known for many years. She's absolutely lovely as a person, brilliant as a professional, been in the sector for 10 years or more. She's been working as an agent from inception, right? She's worked for an agency. She's right now the student recruitment manager for an agency based up in the north of the UK. I'd like to introduce, and if our producer, it's great to have you on the show. Thank you very much for agreeing to do this. You probably I'm hoping you put yourself in for, but let's see how it goes. But how are you anyway? You okay?
No, yeah, I'm good. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to it. Well, we'll see actually after.
Absolute pleasure, Caitlin. Caitlin,
You
I
might,
want to ask
you
you.
might have
Sorry,
done the biggest mistake of your life, agreeing.
no. You're in
Let's
safe
hope
hands.
not. Let's hope not.
This is a safe space, okay? The agent box is a safe space where we can talk about weird and wonderful stuff, and nobody's, any opinion is a valid opinion, and we want to explore ideas. So, Caitlin, you tell me. We were talking before the show. I know that you guys are familiar with the education framework. There's stuff that you guys are introducing and looking at and evolving from that
Mhm.
framework. Let me just put a very blunt question to you. What do you understand by ethical recruitment? What does that mean for you?
I think it's like honesty and transparency with the student. I think as long as you have a transparency, almost we have an agreement that we send to the student, which clearly tells them our code of conduct and what we kind of expect from them. And it covers everything that's in the code of the good practice thing by the agent framework. So
Right.
it's got everything covered in that. So we try to align everything so it matches. So if anyone were to read that, they could read the agreement and see like really like intertwines.
Right. Okay. So your key word here that I'm picking up is transparency. What you're
Yeah.
saying is student knows who and what you are, then that is ethical. Sure. What's your
Yeah.
take on
Yeah, transparency is a big thing. So we are very clear to who we work with in terms of who our direct partners with, who we can and cannot get offers for.
it?
When we work with pathways, we're very clear like which universities work with, say, different pathway providers, and that they're not direct with the universities. A lot of students get confused. But it's really
Mm.
important you need to be open with them because it goes through the whole journey. Whereas they get to the university and like, oh, where are we? We're in somewhere called study group, and it's not the university. So you have to be
Yeah.
clear with
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
So, why do you think that? What are some common challenges that you face as a student when transparent, when communicating or advertising for a particular university? What are the common challenges that you face, and how these challenges can be effectively monitored or navigated? You think?
Sorry, can you just repeat that last bit? Because it kind of like broke up.
So, I was just asking, like, what are some challenges that usually, as an agent, you face when communicating or advertising in terms of transparency, and how do you navigate those?
I don't think we really face any like any challenges with being transparent. It's just how we work, and it's kind of how we've always worked. I think the students sometimes have a trouble with us being so honest. Quite a lot of the times you get from certain regions that they don't want to maybe declare certain working or declare certain masters, but it's all part of the process that they have to declare everything. If a student ever kind of says that to us, then we kind of that's it. We don't deal with that student, we tell them to go somewhere else. We never hide anything. I don't think in terms of challenges, we don't really have
Do you know? Do
any
you
in
know? Do
terms
you know
of
what,
that.
Caitlin? I think agents listening to this or listening to what you're saying will probably think, well, I don't hide anything as well. I don't ever
Oh,
hide
yeah, of
anything
course.
from my students. So I'm good to go. What I'm wondering though is when you talk about like this student agreement that you've got, right? One of the things, there's two things that have come out in recent times. If you look into it, if you read between the lines, what commentators are saying are that one is that agents don't necessarily tell students who's paying them or
Oh,
what they're it's a bit like it's a bit like you go for a mortgage, right? You go for a mortgage, certainly in this country, you go through a mortgage broker. Mortgage broker might tell you about mortgage products that they have, but they won't necessarily tell you which mortgage lender is paying them
mm,
what level of commission. I think these days a lot of these brokers are starting to tell you. They make it obvious. They'll say, "Look, I'm going to be
yeah.
paid by this particular lender." It's a very similar dynamic when it comes to agents. That when
Mm,
we're talking to students, surely the student must be thinking, "Okay, well, how are you making any money?" And should
yeah.
we? Do we have to say that? Should we say that?
Yeah, I think it's transparent. I don't know if you need to give them your commission structure, but you
No.
could definitely tell them we don't charge for anything. So then other students always thinking, well, you're not a charity, so how are you getting the money? Which is a fair question, and we always just tell them the university pays. It's like a finder's fee. We kind of talk like that. It's we are getting paid to recruit you and to help you and guide you the correct way. Universities are massive. They have a lot of students. It's hard for them maybe to employ the power that would needed. A lot of the students that I deal with need a lot more hand holding. It's a lot of messaging them nearly 24. That's hard for a university to cope with. So we kind of explain it that way. In terms of we get paid by the university, we don't kind of disclose who pays us the most.
The actual
But
amounts.
also we don't ever push the university on someone either. I think because we're an agent based in the UK, we have to be real careful with data protection and data sharing. So we can't share data or anything like that with a university that they aren't aware of, and then we have to be very clear who we're sending their data to.
Let me put a question on, and this is I'm interested in because I know you've spent years and years and years working as an agent yourself. That look, let's say for example, right? So I represent a group of universities, right? I've got a contract. Yep, I want to be very transparent about that. These people are going to pay me, blah 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 blah. Okay, so the student comes along and says, I want to go to University X, and that University X is not one of my partners, but my partners are very similar in the type of university that this student wants to go to. Are we saying it's unethical for me to try and convince that student to go to one of my partners, which I know is very, very similar to the type of university that this person's asking for, but rather than saying, well, I'm sorry, I can't help you?
I think it depends how you convince them. It depends what. In one way, you're just giving them more information. So you're just saying, okay, I understand you want this university. It depends why they want it, to be fair, budget, everything like that. You can't maybe try and steer into someone that isn't similar. But it's, what are you looking for in a university? We can give you more options. It's not necessarily we're going to convince you, we're going to make you go to where we get paid. If that student really wants that university that he wants, fair enough, then we will even help him apply there, even if we won't get commission from them. Because we work on referrals, so every student's a referral. But don't get me wrong, we will then also ask them and say, oh, but can we apply for these ones too? Just so then you've got more options. And then of course we will kind of send them facts that we know, if we've ever been to the campus, photos, if we know professors or university staff members, then we will try to, but we won't do it by anything wrong. We won't give them any information. We can only help with who we can help with.
What about you, Cho? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, to be honest, Caitlin covered most of it, what I would do as well. It's about that student choice, because they are a client and their preference and priorities always our priority. It's just not about us making money. It's about doing something good for that particular student. So like Caitlin said, I would always go like, yeah, you want to apply for that particular university, that's great. Go ahead and apply for that. But how about, let's have some food for thought. This particular university or this particular course is, I personally feel, could be suitable for you. You don't need to apply. Here is some information. Just think it over. And if you want to go ahead and proceed with that, we can apply it.
Guys, here's the thought, right? So universities obviously want us to work in an ethical way. And these kind of things are the kind of like the gray areas where you've got somebody who's looking for a particular type of university, and I'm trying to convince them that they should go to another university. But let me give you an example, right? So as a member of staff of the university, when I've worked at universities, and over the last 20 odd years, there are countless numbers of times where students come to me and said they want to do a particular program. They've given me a course title, right?
Yeah.
And maybe they've heard about that from a different university that we're at an exhibition, and they come along and say, I want to study this. But I know that I don't have that subject. I don't have that subject exactly the way that they've asked for it. But I have sat opposite a student countless times trying to convince them that, look, rather than thinking about this particular subject, why don't you consider this subject at my university? And I know for a fact that there are every university, whether it's an international officer, regional manager, whatever it is, they're doing exactly the same. That when a student comes along and says, I want to do, I don't know, business management with HR, but what I have is international business management with HR, I will then try and convince them, no, forget about business management with HR, international business management with HR, and do it at my university. And that isn't considered unethical.
To be frankly honest with you, in my humble opinion, as long as the university and course selections are based on students' academic merit, suitability for the program, and long-term goals, it's not unethical. As long as
Yeah.
we're keeping ticking those boxes. How about you, Caitlin? Would you agree
Right,
with
No,
guys,
me?
look, we're-
I completely
go
agree
on.
with that. Yeah. Yeah.
Look, we're
I
15
think in
minutes in.
terms.
Sorry, go on, go on.
No, no,
Go
no,
on.
no. That's fine.
No, I'll let you finish. Go on, let you finish.
No, I think in terms of universities, they're only selling one product. So I think it becomes slightly unethical if it's an agent doing it for commercial in terms of because, like you mentioned about the commission structure, and you're kind of, oh no, go here because it's better for us, where you need to be thinking what's better for the students. So that's when it depends where they're coming from. I think that's when it becomes
The thing
unethical.
is, though, that universities can be so similar. When we look at, we all know that, we've got
Oh
the Russell
yeah,
Group
100%.
University,
You look at the
Cambridge.
modules.
Yeah, and but even the type of university or the location you've got, like if somebody comes to me and says, "Oh, I want to study in London," well, we've got lots of opportunities in London. There's lots of universities in London, but there are universities that I represent in London, which might be different from the ones that you were thinking about. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So but also in London, I've got one university that's offering me 10% commission. I've got another university offering me 20% commission. Is it unethical for me to then say to that student that I've got a university in London doing the course that you want to do, but I think the best possible program for you would be at University X, where I'm getting that 20%, rather than University Y, where I'm getting 10%. I mean, I think
Yeah,
you'd be
because
deluded to think that people aren't doing that.
no, I agree, but I don't think that's the correct motivation. We never consider commission. We just don't do it.
Right.
I know some people are thinking she's lying, but we're not. We just don't consider that. It's something that we focus mainly on the student, their budget, their academics, what modules they want. We don't go by the motivation of where they're going to pay us more. We're quite a small agency, so any student to any university is a bonus for us. So I understand different agencies. It's true. As long as we get students to a university that we work with, we're happy. We don't really
Because
care who's paying us. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, look, guys, look,
By
I'm
the
gonna
way, to our listeners, when
listen, I'm
we
gonna have to
say
pause.
small agency, they recruit thousands of students.
We're
Oh,
not
yeah.
like, yeah, but we're not IDP or Edvoice.
Listen, let's not use any names on the show, please.
Oh, okay, sorry.
To all my colleagues and friends at IDP, we love you guys, and that's absolutely
Oh,
not
no, yeah. They're amazing, amazing agent, but we're just not that size. That's
Yeah,
all I'm
yeah.
saying. Comparison size.
Listen, I just want to pause here for a sec because I have to say this. Look, the agent box, we're obviously deep into a conversation here around ethics. I'm going to change the tempo in just a sec, but I have to say that the agent box is sponsored by Sam CRM, which is a CRM system designed by agents for agents. You can get in touch with Sam CRM at sales@samcrm.co.uk. You can head over to their website, samcrm.co.uk, and have a look at what they have to offer. I think everything that we're talking about in terms of the agent quality framework and my deep dive that I've done recently, it's reinforced in my mind that if you're an agency and you don't have a CRM, you really need to think about it, because everything that the university is asking from you, it can be managed through a decent CRM system, whether that's SAM's or something else. Go and have a look, but come and talk to us if you're interested in finding out about SAM CRM. Okay, I have to get that bit over and done with.
So I want to put into a different perspective to your discussion now. So we talk about our practices as agents, as ethical consultants and whatnot. What if we, as agent, we identify that some fraudulent activities or applications from students? And what are those red? My first question would be, what are those red flags? And second, do we report it to our partner university at risk or commission, or we just keep silent? How do you go about that, Caitlin?
So we have a fraudulent document checklist. So it's something that we train every staff on. So until they become more aware of what they're looking for, every time they look at a document, they have a checklist for. We have one for academics, we have one for bank statements, we have one corresponding to every document that will come through. So until they become more aware of what to look for, it's mandatory they have to look at that while they're looking at the document. I think it depends. If it's a student that's contacted us and they haven't yet requested a university, we will just then say, we're really sorry, we're not able to help you at this time. If it's a student that they've sent something and we've already applied, then we will send it to our point of contact and be like, this document doesn't look right. We don't have the kind of the equipment or the technology to really tell if it's not right. Can you double check? And then but we're always upfront with the university, even though the student we're working with them, but they've broken the contract that we have by sending us fraudulent documents. Therefore, it's our responsibility to tell the university.
Let me give you a quick example. For example, one of your student who had a previous visa refusal for whatever reason. So then,
a visa refusal, sorry.
Yeah, a visa refusal. They didn't disclose that information to you. You placed the application, got the offer, and student may have made the payment and whatnot. Now they're at the cash stage, right?
Yeah.
And then you found out that he had previous visa refusal, and you have not informed the university about that. So at that point, would you still inform the university about the visa refusal?
Yeah.
And why would you do so?
No, again, so it's part of the agreement is that they have to disclose any immigration history to us. So that's even regardless if it's the UK, but it's Canada, Australia, anything. So by them not telling us at the start, they've broken our agreement again. Even if they've 100% will tell the university. For one, we're not immigration experts anyway, and it's their CAS and it's their sponsor, so we have to tell the university if anything changes. We would never hide that. It will come up anyway, because if they're not going to disclose it on the visa application, they'll get rejected anyway because they can find it out. No, we'd always tell them if anything like that happens.
Okay, guys, let's switch this around a little bit, right? One of the things that we're talking about, sort of, the ethical ways of kind of working with students. What's been in the press and what's been quoted in the Mac review is that this idea of mis-selling. Now, I'm going to very specifically put together what an example of how somebody can mis-sell. So, and I've come across this before in my career. I've seen it happen. Let's say I've got a student, right? I've got a student who's come along and they are able to go to University X. They've got the grades, maybe, not quite on the program they wanted, but, they can go on to, something very, very similar. Or I could convince them to go to a pathway provider. Now, the reason why I'm going to do that is because perhaps the pathway provider is offering me more money. All right. And it could be at the same level as the university, like some kind of a year one equivalent at the pathway provider. Right. But it's on a single CAS. So when that student finishes, okay, I'm thinking to myself, oh, you know what I might be able to do? Get that student. He's going to have to come back home. Let him come back home. And then I'll place him somewhere else. Okay. At a different university with that pathway provider qualification, and I've just got myself double commission on this. This is what the government is being told happens on a regular basis. Okay. Firstly, do you think that's that common? And secondly, what are your thoughts on that sort of practice? Don't just tell me that you don't do it. What I want to know is what do you think about it? Do you know what I mean? What would you say to an agency that had that sort of practices that you discovered? Say you joined a new agency and you thought, well, this is quite prevalent. What would you do in that situation?
It's about the motivation of it, and it's your motivation is to get more money from that student, and that is incorrect. The ethical way is it's the best for the student. If you think not money to like, maybe it's the best thing for him to go for RI1 and not direct because his English his IELTS are fine, but really is not good. His English is struggling to speak to you. Then fair enough, an Intel 1 is probably better for him than going directly. But to lie to the student, because I've seen this. They lie, some agents I've heard of, we've had students in the office complaining, they don't tell them about the single CAS. So they're coming thinking they can apply for the visa here, or they can come and they'll just go straight on to the first year or second year. And that's the issue, is I feel like there's a lot of misleading immigrations. Oh, don't worry, you'll be fine when you get to the UK, you'll be fine when you get to the UK. Where they get here and then they can't, and they have to return home, and it's a lot of money for flights. Then they're struggling to then show a bank statement for the visa because they haven't been told in enough time to have that money prepared, and also they're having to pay for plane tickets back and forth. So it does happen. I think it's all about motivation. You have to speak to people, like maybe they haven't really thought about it that way around. Maybe they haven't really considered the ramifications that they're causing that student, and I don't know, like explaining them, having this is why we need this is why we need regulation really to stop it from happening.
What are your thoughts on what Caitlin's saying? You seen this kind of stuff before?
Well, to be honest, perfectly honest with you, this is what happens. And Caitlin is absolutely right. It's not about what you do, it's what is your intention. If your intention is to help the student, think about the best interest of the student, this is ethical practice. If you're not thinking about that, if you're just thinking about just making more money for you, that's unethical. And it is subjective, to be honest. It is very subjective from people to people. But as long as we're thinking about the student and his priority, his preferences, and his long-term goals, as you mentioned earlier, I think that's an ethical practice.
Do you know what, guys? I'm going to stop you there for a second, right? There's one thing that niggles me, and it has done, for a long time, is that, look, somebody opens up an agency, somebody opens up a company to process students' applications to UK, Australia, Canada, US, wherever it is, right? For one objective, which is to make money. And I think would be silly to sit here and say, actually, no, I'm bettering students' lives. No, actually, I want to better my own life. I want to make some money. That's why I'm in this business. I could sell something else. I could go and do something else. I could get a job, but I've decided to open this business because I want to earn money from it. And I think I kind of feel that that's the issue that we're trying to avoid here, that somehow, if I place that student at a pathway provider, yes, you're right, I have to tell them about the single CAS, but then that student comes back home and I feel that actually the student's open for it, that they're happy to move to another location, and I place that student in another location and happen to earn 2 lots of commission. Have I really done something wrong here?
No, it's the motivation there. So it's the motivation to do that. If the student knows that's what's going to happen,
to earn money.
But it's also I believe you can coexist with making money and helping people. I do believe that. I do believe it. I feel like you can be in the business of wanting to make students better. Otherwise, what can you say about universities as well? Because they charge more for you.
Right, hang on a second. So this is something that I would put to my university colleagues, right? So university colleagues are talking about recruiting students, about I want quality students, I want to do this, and I want students to have a really good time on campus, and I want students to come out with great, careers and great, the reason you're recruiting students is because your university wants to make money, right?
Yeah.
I've sat in vice chancellor group meetings where simple calculation has been done. If we increase our tuition fees by 500 quid, we end up making another 13 million this year, right? That's been the conversation over and over again. So we're not actually here to change lives and do anything like that. We're here because we need money. And the more we can recruit, the more money we can make.
It's a bit of a cynical look at it, Sam, if I'm being honest.
Deliberately.
I just think I don't believe that about higher education. I believe it is bettering people. When you see testimonials and when you see your students now working at like a vice president thing at a company in the Middle East, it's a big thing because you've helped that happen. And when you speak to the alumni, they talk about how much they valued their time at the university. So okay, you get money, but it's a byproduct, I think. And that's what motivates me to be still working in the business for 20 years.
Let me give you a very, very bad example, like I always do. For example, I'm a potato trader, right? So I can offer, and you came to me for potatoes. So there is this potato, that potato, and whatnot potatoes, right? As long as they are all good potatoes, healthy potatoes, I don't see any problem with that. But if I sell you rotten potatoes just for my making money, I'm making money by selling good potatoes, and also I can make money by selling rotten potatoes. So making money is not the problem. How you're making money is the issue.
I actually really understood that analogy. That was a really good potato.
I think that's probably in essence. Look, Caitlin, obviously I'm being cynical here, and
I know you're playing like devil's advocate.
I don't like the narrative, the kind of the status quo where universities are seen as very clean, completely ethical recruitment practices, and we're recruiting because we are somehow enriching people's lives. No, you're recruiting because you want to make money. Whereas when it comes to viewing agents, the default position is, well, the dirty, murky world of agents.
100% agree.
Everybody's trying to stab everybody in the back and they're sending through dodgy students and they're doing this and they're doing that. I want to balance that out a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That actually what you as universities are doing when you go into market, you're competing against each other. You're trying to undercut each other with scholarships. You're trying to undercut each other with a few quid on tuition fees here and there. Well, how do I know this? Because I've done it. I've sat and done table after table looking at competitor analysis and trying to get an edge on a particular university because I know that I could steal market share. We talk in universities about stealing market share. You understand what I'm saying? That's the language. Because it's a business. And equally, agents are also a business. I think the fact what Utsho said there, actually, what Abir just said makes sense to me, that you're not selling rotten potatoes. So the thing that I'm selling as an agent, so long as it is not a bad decision for the student, that I'm putting the student in a bad situation, then actually that ethical question becomes a little bit more subjective. It becomes,
by the way, guys, we are more than half hour in.
Yeah, no. I just went to that. Yeah. Look, Caitlin, I mean, thank you so much. We're going to have to end it here, right? We're supposed to be no more than the producer's going to go bonkers. We're not supposed to be more than 5 minutes. We have that 25-minute as a real buffer, but we're well over that now. But listen, Caitlin, I think, look, this is a subject that we could talk about endlessly. I think that's the problem here, that because of the subjective nature of the topic. I think, I definitely think that agents should be looking at the agent quality framework and should be thinking about, their own practices. And I love the fact that you, as a company, have introduced that student charter, that thing that you get them to sign. I think that's a real starting point. And it's something in my previous career as an agent, we introduced that in Africa, and it was something that, I think every agent should have. But look, guys, thank you very much indeed for joining us. We're going to have to end it there. You've been watching the Agent Box. I keep saying this at the end of every show, that actually go over to the Agent Box website, which is theagentbox.co.uk, and you'll be able to see past episodes, and you'll see bits and bobs that we're putting on there. It is still very rough and ready because we are volunteers, so it's something that our producer and the rest of the team are working on a part-time basis. We do have an email address, theagentbox@gmail.com, and we've got a phone number scrolling down the bottom. If this is a topic that you guys feel really kind of strong about, drop us a line, send us an email, let us know, give us some feedback as to what you think. Listen to Caitlin today. Obviously, myself and Abir talk endlessly about all sorts of rubbish. It's really important that we try and get some feedback, because I think this topic is not going to go away. I think it's gonna be more and more prevalent as we go forward, depending on which government comes into power here in the UK. I think we're going to be hearing more and more about this ethical nature of recruitment. Anyway, guys, that's it from me, Sham, and from my colleague Abir from the Agent Box. A massive thanks to Caitlin, and see you guys next Thursday.
And we'll be live from London next Thursday, so stay tuned.
Okay, brilliant. Cheers. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care. Bye now.